Kings here. And so today I just sort of wanted to take a moment to talk about opposing viewpoints and hopefully offer some tidbits, advice, and in no ways it's a full comprehensive list. But the first thing I like to ask whenever I have a conversation with somebody, specifically those who are inclined to believe in conspiracy theories, is what if any information would change your mind? And it depends on what they say. Now, unfortunately, sometimes, like with the moon landing, they might say, well, if I could actually be there or go into NASA or something like that, then that would be like, we know this to be impossible. So obviously we can't do this. You can't physically go there and visit the moon. We know that to be an impossibility. So then we carry it on. And we go from that to even worse, which is nothing. I have faith, I just believe it. Which, at this point, I don't want to say a lost cause, but it's important to take a step back and ask yourself what battles are worth fighting. If they're not willing to talk or debate, then it's going to be a waste of time for not only you, but them. So the first thing and most important thing is to establish if this is worth it or if this is beyond your capacity. Some people are beyond help, are beyond quote unquote salvation, whatever it may be. Some people are beyond a conversation. Some people don't want to listen for many different reasons, which we will go over extensively in another video. But the next thing you want to do is you want to ask them earnestly to explain themselves, and you want to listen. This opens the way for a dialogue. It's friendly, you get to know them, and it shows that you're willing to not only speak, but you're also willing to hear them. And people like feeling appreciated and more so respected. And this is a clear way to show that you respect them and what they have to say, and that you're not talking down to them like they're dumb or anything like that. So once you hear that, you want to go ahead and here's what I like to do. I like to talk, but I don't like to speak arrogantly, because if I speak arrogantly, they're going to notice it as well. So instead, what I like to do is I say, I'll tell you what I believe to be true, and then you correct me where you feel I was wrong. And this is a lot less hostile than anything else, right? We want to keep in mind that what we're doing here is we're not making it a battle, or we're not attacking people. We're not trying to get them into fight or flight mode, right? We're not. What this is this conversation is a friendly exchange of information between two people. And the whole perspective of it, right, is you want to get something out of a conversation. So that could be information. And again, you don't want to waste time, right, for either side. Here's the thing. Even if I'm talking to somebody who I am certain doesn't have high intellectual capacity, they could say 99 things that are absolutely absurd, but then they might say that one thing that you never considered. So again, going back to this, you don't want to speak arrogantly, because upon further evaluation of the opinion, you might find out something different. Just as research and data is constantly changing and we're learning new things in that field, we're also learning new things in the real world. That changes our opinions and shapes us differently as we grow up. If you ever held any opinions that you now realize are incorrect, you want to consider this at all times. And apologies for if you hear the pen in the background. I have a lot of little bulletin points where I sort of like write notes to help me remember where I'm going with this, so I don't go back and forth and lose my train of thought. So let's go ahead and find out what our opinions form from, right? So most opinions are formed from upbringing, peer pressure, and personal, cultural, or professional bias. And once we understand that, we can sort of understand the topics and points to sort of address going forward, which is great. So with that being said, we want to consider if there's any logical inconsistencies in our own arguments. Oftentimes we're trying to poke holes in other people when we're talking to them, but we're never even considering, or at the very least, we're not giving the same amount of thorough examination to our own arguments and our own opinions. By getting to learn somebody else's argument, it allows for better perspective, and it allows for you to shape your argument better, because now you're understanding where they're coming from. People want to be understood. People want to be heard. When you do none of these, it makes it very difficult for them to want to hear what you have to say when you're not allowing the same courtesy. So, we also want to avoid just giving our own viewpoint. So to assure that we have the most healthy way to talk and communicate with another person, consider all viewpoints, not just your own. And that's so important. We also want to address things like confirmation bias, and we want to get those out of the way. Not just in them, but in ourselves. Where are we getting our information from? And this goes back to researching the other side and looking for their information as well. Are we looking for stuff, proactively looking for stuff that supports our viewpoint and our worldview while ignoring the other information? And if we are doing that, we need to ask ourselves honestly, is this the most productive way to go about this? So confirmation bias can be a big thing that hurts all of us in the exchange of information. So we have to be open to the idea that we need to read other articles as well that we might not like and at least consider. Which is another thing. Watch yourself on your emotional reactions to unpopular opinions. It can be hard to not get caught up in having a knee-jerk response when you read something particularly volatile. So take a step back and read it and put aside how it makes you feel for a moment and address it and critically analyze it. That way you can really see if there's any merit or truth to it. The other thing is, of course, finding peer-reviewed research and data. If you see people share stuff on Facebook, a lot of times those are proven to be false and fact-checked the fuck out of, right? So, try to find peer-reviewed research and data. For example, systematic reviews, randomized controlled trials, cohort studies, case control studies, meta-analysis. There's so many different things, right? And we can go into further depth, and detail about this later on, about the different types of research and studies that are done. It's just, these are good examples of what you can consider. And especially with the whole COVID-19 vaccine argument and stuff like this, we have to look at that. So, the next thing, of course, is you want to see if the other side is talking with you or if they're trying to win. And what I mean is, especially if narcissists, it can be about, you're making good points, but I'm not even going to address that. In my mind, to win is to win at all costs. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you upset. And once you get upset, even if you have valid points, I'm going to point out that you're upset and try to steer the conversation away from that. Like, look how emotional you're getting, even if it's for a very good reason. And then I'm going to attack your character directly if for some reason you don't get upset. Instead, I'm going to be like, well, you're an idiot, or remember when you did this, or blah, 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 or you don't have the best track record. It's going to go away from the conversation directly towards you, something unrelated. So be on the lookout for narcissists. We'll go into details about them a lot more later on in a future video as well. Just something to consider. I've seen it personally with conversations with narcissists, and it doesn't go well. So, with that being said, thank you all so much, and talk to you later.